Hey, my guest for Tales from a Gemini is Adam Hunter. You might know Adam Hunter from Last Comic Standing, or he changed the game with his MMA Roasted podcast where he talks to MMA fighters, and he's real big in the UFC. You know, everybody knows Joe Rogan, but man, there's Adam Hunter, and he has changed the game as far as podcasts. He's one of the inspirations for Tales from a Gemini. This was a fun podcast. I've known Adam for upteenth years. He's always put me on stages, clubs. We've always been great friends, former wrestlers, and I think that's why we bond. So, man, this was just it's kind of like a reunion of both of us. So I hope you guys enjoy the podcast, have some great laughs. It starts off with a banger, man, and it doesn't stop from there. He tells about his life, stuff I didn't even know. So hope you guys enjoy it. Adam Hunter. 1, 2, 3. Hey, it's BT with Tales from a Gemini. Man, you know what? I was just thinking about my guest today. This guy is basically the reason that I'm doing this podcast, Tales from a Gemini. And I was telling this, like, you know, I was looking for a guest, and I go, oh, yeah, my boy Adam. And I thought, and it's true, I go, he's the reason for this podcast. And to me personally, he's the game changer because of what you did. You made it to where, like, podcasts, you know, it was like, okay, two comics talking together or whatever. Okay, whatever. And it's like, I'm a Gemini, but I always get bored with just the regular comic shit. And what Adam Hunter has done, and what he did was, he has a love for mixed martial arts, a love for wrestling. That's why we get along. But he took his love for that and made it a podcast, and he put his comedy in it, make the fighters laugh, and then he kind of specified a specific market that no one had done, at least for me, I hadn't seen. Nobody had done, and that inspired me to go with what I love, which is motorsports and MotoGP and racing. So, man, this is the inspiration for everything that I'm doing right now, Mr. Adam Hunter.
Oh, thanks, man. Well, you're an inspiration too, man. You're one of the best comics I know. Honestly, like, there's nobody that lights up a room like you. So I you know, you're always been really nice, really kind. So when you're like, hey man, can you do my podcast at 9 o'clock in the morning? And I was like, you know, sick and not feeling good. And I tested positive for COVID, but it was a false positive. So I was like, I need sleep. Anybody else, I would have been like, you know what? No, I got a show at Vegas and I gotta crush tonight. But I'm like, you know what? For you, I'll get up at 9 o'clock in the morning. So, okay.
Man, holy shit, I feel bad now, but thank you. I do. I'm like, oh shit. But I was like, I really thought like, okay, well, he's got a kid, so getting up early is nothing, but you're in Vegas, and that's different because, you know, your kids, you're away for your kids, and we all know how Vegas is. Even though we're not in our 20s and 30s, we've hung out in gigs like Mesquite. I remember working in Mesquite, Nevada with you, and you were ready to dance. We were up late. We're dancing with, you know, those chicks from Utah back in the day, having a great time. You know what I mean? And now we're like, you work Vegas, you do your show, maybe get something to eat. You're back in your room by, what, midnight maybe? You know? I
really was. I was back at like 11. I had porn stars come to my show. Hey, want to hang out? I'm like, I'm going to be upstairs, probably masturbating to you.
Hold on. What porn star? Which ones?
Some girl named, her name was Red something. Miss Red came to the show. I don't know. Some hot little hottie. She had a guy with her, but a bunch of other like fighters came. Hey, want to come hang out? Like, I'm up. I like, you know, I'm back at 11. I'm watching the news, you know, just and then masturbating. So
I feel like I cock blocked you in a way. I mean, from fun. I feel like I cock blocked you from fun.
No, man. I can't go out with them anyway. I'm a married man. It's a whole different world now.
Well, no, I mean, it's not like you have to fuck. You can hang out without fuck. I mean, you know what I mean? I mean, sometimes it's even better because, you know, you're just hanging out and you can talk, make them laugh, maybe get some jokes, remember, write them down. It ain't has to, you know, it doesn't end up in fuck. Like, I'm in the weird stage now where I can hang out with a hot chick and be like, oh, that was funny, and write down and be like, take it easy and not even think about fucking. And it's like, because my sex drive is gone. Maybe because I live in Indiana and there's really no hot chicks here, so it's like it's real easy to go back to your room. You know what I'm saying?
Well, it's all good till your wife wants to FaceTime with you.
Yeah,
you're either gonna ignore the FaceTime, which is gonna be bad because she knows the show ended at 9 o'clock, or you're gonna FaceTime from like the bathroom or something, and like, you know, and she's gonna be like, well, why are you in the men's room? So like all these things are great in theory. Or she's gonna go, who did you hang out with tonight? And then you're like, it's just some friends. Oh, well, where are these friends from? Oh, you know, my ex who's now a dancer. Yeah, she brought her friends, and she wanted to support. Oh, really? How'd she? Well, I invited her. Oh, why? Well, I got to get people on the show. Oh, those are the only people you can get. So it's I've had enough of these conversations to know that like it's just not worth the headache.
I can tell you needed to get that out, didn't you? I could tell you needed to get that out. You can always tell when a married man needs to talk to somebody. I hung out with my uncle like 2 months ago, and it was just like this. I said like one word, and he went on a 10-minute diatribe just like you did. And I go, yeah, you need someone to talk to, don't you? So that's what I'm here for, man. I'm your counseling, basically.
I appreciate that, man. Thank you.
No, that's the truth. I don't know what it is about being married. I'll never know. But for some reason, when they have to let it out like you do, it's good, and that's what you need.
No, the worst was like Dan Henderson's one of my favorite fighters, right? Hendo.
Yeah.
So Dan came to my show. My wife was pregnant. She was going to be in labor like in like a month. She was 8 months pregnant. So he's like, hey, come to my show. He's like, hey man, we're all having an after party at the strip club. You want to come? And I'm just like, Dan Henderson, right? Yeah. So we go on this tour, the bus, and Hendo, all these fighters, and Gian Volante, and we're having the best time. And I'm like, these girls, he's like, hey man, the guy's buying us lap dances. I'm like, no, I'm married. But I'm like, but I'll get a massage. I'm stressed. My wife's gonna be in labor. I'm stressed. And then cut to like, I'm on my way to like drive my wife to deliver the baby, and Howard Stern's on, and he's talking about strip clubs. I'm like, they're not even that good in Vegas. Oh, how would you know? Oh, well, I went to one. When? A couple months. You went to a strip club while I was pregnant? Well, I was, and then I still get, but I'm like, but I didn't get all I got was a massage. You got a massage? No, but it was one of those like elbow. It's like I have like diarrhea of the mouth. I can't keep it secret. I have horrible timing off stage, sometimes even on stage. So I'm just like, it's okay. It's like,
doesn't she know who you? I mean, doesn't she know like the real you? Like that's just your life, but you love her.
I think that there's a point that does know that. I think she's a part of her loves that, and then there's a part where she's just like, she just has this. Yeah, I told her that. I go, listen, so sometimes she'll be yelling at me like, you put you took the cereal out, and you put it into this one and the lunches. Now she has too much lunch, the baby. And I'm like, I used to bang porn star. I used to have three twins, like I used to have 6 drugs off my penis. Like, what am I doing right now? Like, what happened to me? Like, I'm getting yelled at for putting too much freaking cereal in my kid's lunch. Like what? But I have to then go, hey man, it's all nothing. Everything takes sacrifice, and that shit. You don't want to be the old guy at the porn party, Like,
You know what? I like to test that theory out. I really would, because I really would like to test that theory out just once, because you know what? There's always that one sympathetic liberal girl like, oh my God, he's all alone. What's going on? I go, hey, what's up there, Miss Lady? And you never know. She might throw me one just out of gratitude.
Some girls have grandfather issues, not even daddy issues. They skip the.
Grandfather issues. Yeah. That's a new one, bro. That's fucking good. Yeah, they got a black grandpa issues. My black grandpa wasn't there. Oh, really, little white girl? How come he wasn't? And next thing you know, old BT's in there, and it's me and Bonnie Rotten going out like, yeah, I wish I had a black grandpa. Man, this took a turn that I really wasn't expecting, but hey, let's run with it. No, man, but honestly, you know what I remember about you, honestly, is meeting you in LA, and that was when Dublin's was hot, and then right across the street was Miyagi's. And I just remember you going up. I don't think we had met each other, and I just remember that joke. My brother thinks he's a rapper, like he's J to the ooish, and I always, whenever I see you, whenever your name comes up, I automatically think he's J to the ooish, and I always remember that, and I laugh so hard.
Oh, thanks, man.
I really do, and we've always been friends. And then, like I said, man, I left LA, and then this podcast thing came up, and I was like, okay, I'm not really getting into it. But then your MMA podcast made me go, that's what I want to do. Because I when I moved to Indianapolis, I was always a lover for racing, auto racing, whatever, and motorcycle racing more than anything. And I wanted to incorporate that. And then I was like, but I don't think anybody's going to get into it. And what you did, me personally, what you've done to me is you changed the game without people realizing that you changed the game. Don't get me wrong. Rogan does what Rogan does, and that's no disrespect to him. But you incorporated mixed martial arts, you brought those guys into the living room or into your headphones, and you showed a different side. No one knew that side of Daniel Cormier until you did a thing with the cupcake and what he did. No one knew that side of those other guys, man, like Dan Fry, and you showed how funny, crazy he is. I mean, you literally changed the game. Like, did you realize what you were doing while you were getting it together?
No, what happened was, I wouldn't say it was an accident, because I don't think it was really an accident, but I was opening for John Heffron on the road. And Heffron and me used to like watching UFC together, and he got tagged to host a mixed martial arts awards. And he was like, you know, he was up for it, but he was like, you know, I don't know what to do, blah blah blah. Can you help me write some sketches? So I got hired to write some sketches, and me and this guy Joey Vegas, we wrote a bunch of sketches that did really well, like Randy Couture, divorce attorney, of like taking fighters, because he had been divorced like 6 or 7 times at that point. It was, I mean, a lot. I don't know, it was 6 or 7. And then they did really well. So then I ran into Dana White at a casino, and I'm like, Dana, you know, I got these, I wrote the sketches for the awards. I'm a big fan. And we talked for like 30 minutes. And that's the thing about fighters, man. Like, for example, I did a show last week in Edmonton, and this hockey player came, one of the most, you know, famous hockey players in the world.
Who was it?
I don't want to say his name, because the story doesn't go in like a positive place. But but he was a great hockey player. And after the show, someone was like, "Hey man, can I get an autograph?" And he's like, you know, he was shy, but it would have been a lot of people, you know, asking for autographs, 100 people. But he said no. He said no. And then I wanted a picture with him. Or can I get a picture? But I was like, I'm not gonna get a picture. If he said no to this guy, and even though he came to my show, I don't want to be like, well, I'm good enough to get a picture, you know. But it kind of like, I've never seen that with a fighter. Like a fighter, I've never seen a fighter turn on a picture. Like fighters are the nicest. I don't know what it is. Maybe because they know the grind of it and how hard it is and how much they come. Maybe they're not making $100 million like this guy is or whatever. So they're just very accessible people, and they're super fun, and like they're raw. It was at the time that I was doing it, it was still a new enough sport. People were just like, I had Anthony Smith on my podcast, right?
Yes.
And this was before he made it. Well, he was in the UFC. He had been cut. He's trying to get back in the UFC. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I texted him, "Hey man, thanks for coming on the podcast." And he wrote me back, "Thanks for giving a shit about my fights." You know, and I'm like, wow, you know, like that's something. So anyway, cut to me and Dana White. So then I pitched the show to Dana. I texted Dana, "Hey man," I go, "Hey, want to come to my comedy show tomorrow night? I'm playing whatever." So he's like, "Yeah, I'll be there." So he couldn't make it, but he told the bouncer to tell me, "Hey, Dana White said sorry, he can't make it tomorrow night." Dana called me. Like that's the kind of guy he is. Like he called the bouncer to tell me, "Hey, Dana wanted to come. He said he couldn't make it, but he really enjoyed, you know, meeting you." So I pitched him a show, and I said, "Hey man, I want to do this show where it's called So You Think You're a Tough Guy," where I drive around in a truck, and in the back of the truck there's like an octagon, but or like something, and then there's like a fighter, because there's so many guys that are like, "I could beat that guy. Right. Man, this guy's not so tough." Well, now you could challenge the fighter to a fight. So it was like a bully beatdown meet cash cab. Yeah. So I pitched it to the UFC, and they were like, "Listen, we're still barely getting legal. You know, we can't have fights in parking lots, or like, but thank you." And And Dana, I think Dana remembered that, because a couple months later, I got a phone call. I'm literally coaching middle school wrestling, and Dana White's calling my phone, and Dana's like, "Hey man, you know, we love Tosh.0. We want to do like a Tosh.0 thing where we have you roast fighters, like talk about the events, like the funny part of MMA." So I was like, sure. So then I started making videos for them, like the first 3 years. And then they kind of made it seem like it was just my videos, but it was the UFC was like making these videos with me. Yeah. And you know me, you know, like if you like write a joke, and you know, I mean, jokes are like babies, right? So I would write 100 jokes for these things and only get to keep like 7. So now I have 93 jokes that I'm just like sitting on. So I'm like, you know what? I want people to see these jokes. So I started the MMA Roasted account on Twitter. Yeah. And then all of a sudden that just blew. Like, and so then it was just like, before you know it, I'm up to like 90,000 followers now on MMA Roasted. So a lot of fighters was following the account, and they were, and people like Diego Sanchez is like, man, when are you going to roast me? And people were like, dude, this is the funniest account I've ever seen. Or like all these Team Alpha Male guys I was making fun of were like, this is the, so then they started showing up to my shows. Like, so then that's that. Then I got a call from Fox Sports, and Fox Sports was like, hey, we look your MMA Roasted account. We want to do this thing where we have fighters. It was like back in the day, there was this like football thing. It was like a quarterback. People would pretend to be quarterbacks in the NFL on Facebook, talking crap to each other. Yeah. It was like a fake Peyton Manning talking shit to a fake this person. So we want to do that with like MMA. Right. We'll call it text from last fight. So we want you to pretend to be fighters, texting each other on fight night and just having a massive group text. So that like for 3 years, I like did that, and no one knew who it was for a while. Then people figured out it was me because I was like, hey, check out this group text I found. And that was taking me a lot of time, but it was great. Then they were like, hey, we also want to pick up your podcast. So at the time I was working for the UFC. I had Fox Sports. I had that. And then you know, I mean, I had a lot of, then all of a sudden Fox Sports like became something else. The UFC left then. I got fired from everybody. Like they wanted to, my podcast didn't get renewed. They dropped podcasts. So then I had to kind of like, you know, shift it. Mm-hmm. So then I was still writing those sketches for the MMA Awards, which I'm still doing. The ones are coming up this Friday. We have another seat. We have 13. I did one with Aljamain, with Misha, whatever. So then I started like with Daniel Cormier. I'm like, hey, you want to be in this sketch? Blah, blah, blah. I wrote that thing. He didn't even know what that was. He's like, yeah, he just showed up. He did all about that cake thing. He left going, that was weird. That next thing you know, it got 80 million hits. He's like, what the fuck did I just do? Yeah. And then I did the one with Kelvin Gastelum of My Dorito instead of Despacito.
Dude, you kill him. Honestly, no jokes make me laugh harder than when you roast him and Henry Cejudo. Man, you don't understand, dude. I laugh hard at those, like stomach laugh.
But Kelvin asked me, he's like, hey, roast me. Like he asked me to. And then he's like, I asked you once. I did ask you once. He did, which is true. He didn't ask for 55,000 jokes to go for him. But his mom and his sister come to my shows. And Henry's the same. Like between me and you, like, all right, just between me and you and everyone else watching this, but don't tweet this out. But a lot of times I help Henry out with his tweets. Yeah. So like when Henry writes some fucked up shit about people, like just, but me and Henry, we're like, we're really good friends. Like I actually just sold a show to the UFC where we had fighters do comedy. Uh-huh. So we had Henry Cejudo, we had Chael Sonnen and Dean Thomas do stand-up comedy at the Strat. So that's Dana White's seeing that today because he's looking at the footage and seeing how that is. But then Dana White during COVID was like, I want to produce your comedy special. So they flew me to Vegas last week. I did a show at the Apex. It was a hard show because everyone was wearing masks, you know, and it was like, and the crowd was like, you know, it was Brandon Moreno and 10 people from Tijuana, and then like Cheryl and like 8 people from accounting, Mike Perry and his pregnant girlfriend in the front row. Dana White is the only one not wearing a mask. And then it wasn't the easiest crowd, but it went well. This next one went even better because the people had the masks off. But then I got hired after cut to like so for the award show. Like I did one with Cejudo instead of wet ass pussy. I had cringe ass Henry. So that was a big video that went really well. I had a bunch of them. Dominic Cruz and did Storage Wars. With Dominic Cruz and Phil Davis. I had the one with Dominic Cruz last time where instead of as BTS, I forgot the thing we did with them. That was actually really good because the BTS army, we had them all wearing like dressed like those Korean pop band. They were all like the BTS army liked it a lot. So it was and then I did Johnny Hendricks, I Can't Make the Weight When I Fight You Because I'm Hungry as like the weekend. And he actually missed weight after making that song too.
Are you serious?
Yes, he still missed weight. So, you know, those. And then I had Uriah Faber as The Weeknd. He goes, I got a really big butt chin. My chin can twerk. And we had his chin twerking. Like the fighters they've been really good sports. We had Rashad Evans. That's my MMA slow jams where he was like, "Baby, when we're fighting, I get so excited." I had him doing all those, and he's a really good dancer. Rashad's the best. Yeah. So those were fun. And then Bellator hired me to do like the history of Fedor's sweater. So because he had this crazy sweater, and I did like the powers of it. So that was a lot of fun. And then the PFL I worked, but it was like me pitching Bellator. Yeah. Hey, I got you guys, or me pitching PFL. Like it was never, nobody had really, I mean, Fox Sports came to me, but after that, it was like me coming to everybody, me coming to Dana. Like I must have pitched to UFC a special or shows like no less than 15 times, maybe 20. And I kept getting yes, nothing. Yes, nothing. Yeah. Because comedy's like, you know, they have so many other things they're doing, you know?
Right.
But Dana's a loyal guy. He's like one of those dudes that if you're loyal to Dana and like, you know, if he says he's going to do something, he's going to do it. And when he wants something done, it gets done. So,
but that's what I love about you. You work your hustle, and that's what I want to get. People don't realize, man, what you do. I mean, it's almost every day you're putting out at least. I mean, at the minimum, maybe 20 tweets that are jokes. At the minimum. Matter of fact, last night when you said, "Yeah, man, I'd love to do this," and I hit you back. And I'm waiting for your reply, and I look up on the account, and you had posted something on your Instagram, and then you reply back, and then you do other stuff, and I'm like, this dude, you've always been you outwork. It's almost like, I don't know about you, but I equate everything with what I know, and that's wrestling, you know, and that's, I think, it's where we connect also is wrestling. And when you wrestle, it's like, we're grinders, man. You know, you win that 2-1, that 3-1. You get that last takedown in 10 seconds. You're not that dude that's going to have the start, but you're the dude that's like, this dude's going to be a hard out. You know, you make it to the championship semis, you know, or in the contest semi. You know, we're the last dude you want to face because, you know, this is going to be a 6-minute fucking war. You know, So, and that's the way and I think, do you apply that to your comedy? Or just
1,000%. I mean, with wrestling, in high school, I was a 4-time All New England champion. I won the, it was a 4-time Class A New England champion. I won the All New England twice. And I always beat kids that beat me in the beginning of the season. Like I would lose to them in the middle of the season, tournament time, I would wreck them because I'd outwork them.
Yes.
You know, and that's what comedy, I mean, stand-up comedy, like there are times that like I had 3 auditions yesterday and I had something else. So I wasn't feeling that funny at 8 o'clock at night with my show, but I'm like, man, but it's okay. Cause I did all the work. Like I've been doing the work. So it's not like, it's one of those things where people are like, why do you have so many jokes in your act? Like you have so many punchlines. I'm like, because I want to have more punchlines than anybody else. Because I figured more punchlines, more laughs, you know? So it's just a matter of like, yeah, you have to outwork everybody. Because I've never been a naturally talented person. Like you put me in the talent scale, there's going to be people that are way more talented than me. Like just talent is just God-given talent, you know? Right. But then there's work ethic, and work ethic beats talent, you know? And people say when talent doesn't work hard, even when talent does work hard, you just work harder than that talent, you know? So, I think that's really kind of what it is. It's just, and also like some people go, oh, this guy's annoying. He keeps, but I'm like, yeah, I like take pride in that in a lot of ways.
Yes.
I'm like, I like, cause eventually, I like to think that like, yeah, there's something like to me really satisfying in not giving up. Is like, yeah, you're seeing me not give up. But like, because this town, LA, Hollywood, comedy, it's just gatekeepers. You know, it's and a lot of times these gatekeepers are just all about like who the shiny object is at that moment. It's like high school all over again.
Yes.
It's, oh, you know, hey, this is the hot comic for 20 minutes. So we're all going to run to him. And then this guy's the hot comic. All right. Meanwhile, I'm like, I'm not playing that game. Okay. I'm playing the long-term game. You know, I'm playing the like build. And all of a sudden when the crowd goes, wait a minute, wait, this was, you guys said this was the hot comic. Well, this is the person that's making everyone fucking crack up laughing. Like, you know, we're going to go over here. Yeah. Eventually they all will go over there.
Yeah.
It just doesn't. And someone's like came to my show on Monday and they're like, yo, man, you had me dying. I was crying, man. I was crying laughing. And the last time you had me crying, like, how come I don't see you in movies? I'm like, dude, I understand you think this is a compliment, and it's not a compliment, but I understand that. I understand where your heart is right now, and it's not in a bad place.
Yeah.
But I go, look, man, when Bernie Mac made it, everyone was like, man, who the hell's this guy? Like overnight, you know, when Dangerfield made it, people were like you want to be the guy with the you know, the resume, the collection, the all that shit. You don't want to be the person with like 8 minutes and then you make it and then like you can't reproduce.
Right.
So to me, it's like anything else. But as far as MMA goes, like that's the thing. It's also like even today, I'm like, oh, I got to interview 3 fighters. But I'm like, it's not really a job. If you love it, it's not really a job.
Yes. It's like this. I mean, I'm talking to you and it's like, I'm loving where we are now. I loved it when we started. I loved it when you said, I'll do it. I go, fuck yeah. Because it's like, you know, one is I've known you, so that helps. But then knowing that I love just knowing, I just love talking. I love getting to know people. Even though I know you, I wanted to get in this MMA, how you got this started, and give you your props, give you your flowers. That's the thing we're saying now, because it's the truth. I mean, and here's a question for you that I've always asked, and there's no disrespect because you almost said it, is that how do you feel that knowing you put in, you work just as hard as anybody, maybe even harder, but you're not a big name, if that makes, without you know, dissing
I understand. I mean, no, I get it. I mean, look, I just like there's definitely that. I mean, there's definitely that. But then I look at like, well, I got an amazing wife, I got an amazing kid, I got a house, I love what I do, I coach wrestling, I get to coach, I get to work with fighters. I also don't have the issues sometimes that like other people that are quote unquote famous have. You know, like it's sometimes it's like nice to be able to say what I want and also to not have to worry about all this other bullshit. Like, you know, 10 people say I suck on Twitter, I get annoyed. Imagine if it was 10,000, you know, I probably wouldn't even read it. You know, I'd be like, I'm done with this, you know? So I don't have those negative issues, but also it's like, a part of me also thinks like, if everything happened now, what would I be working for? You know? So it's like, yeah, of course, like, I still want things to look forward to.
Yeah.
So that's what I look at it that way. Yeah. You know, yeah, I didn't get this right now, or I got that, but now I still have like, well, this tomorrow or this today, that's gonna be more success.
Right.
I think sometimes people peak out way too early.
Yeah.
You know, so I look at it that way.
I mean, but you've always had your foot more than just in the door. You've been to the party and been sitting around like, you know, like, hey, this guy over here, like everything you've done. Like, I just remember being in Tulsa and I was at a Walmart. And I get a phone call and it's you. We go, hey man, I go, what's up, Adam? Could you do me a favor and vote for me for Last Comic Standing? Yeah, no problem. I mean, I remember where I was every time you hit me up because it's always good stuff. But it's like, hey, what's going on, Adam? Could you vote for me? Yeah, no problem. Since I get home from shopping
I also
at Walmart.
don't play that game a lot. I don't like hanging out at the Comedy Store. I don't hang out. I'm not one of these dudes that just like, you know, kisses ass to certain bookers. I'm like, all right, like I just don't. I have more. I got the family, you know. I got like my daughter is like my number one priority.
Oh yes, I love those vids on Instagram.
I mean, taking her to wrestling practice, I get to coach, and having her come to wrestling is like, I mean, literally like middle school. What kids like, I could do 10 pull-ups, and the kids like, I could do 12. My daughter goes, I wear pull-ups when I sleep, and I was just like, oh my god, like I was trying to. 2 days ago, I was trying to show everyone the stand-up because we have a brand, because COVID now, it's a brand new team. Yeah. Every team is a brand new team. There's we have no returnees, you know, because there was a whole year missed. So everything I'm showing is brand new. So which is fun at the same time. It's like, you know, so I'm showing a stand-up, right? So I get them I get on my all fours. I'm like, okay, guys, you want to have your hands light like you're playing the piano, when you know, and then my daughter runs in the middle of the room. Daddy, I go, what, Violet? She goes, you said piano lessons are Friday. I'm like, yes, we're going to go play the piano on Friday, but this is just for wrestling right now. But no, I know, but mommy said that, I know what mommy said. And now I'm like, Violet, okay, I promise you we'll play the piano on Friday, but I got to teach the rest of these kids these moves right now. She's like, oh, okay.
That's like the best of both worlds then for you then. It's got to be.
Well, what happened was, this year I wasn't going to coach because we moved and it's an hour drive. And then
where you living now?
I live in Winnetka. It's like right by Woodland Hills. But
oh my God.
But I teach over in like Brentwood, California. So I got to drive, you know, an hour to an hour back. And it's like, you know, $30 a day. It doesn't even cover gas. I just do it because I love it. And, you know, like it's hard because I started the high school program too for these kids. So I see like their high school team is amazing now because it's a lot of my old kids. And there's like, 10 out of the 13 kids, and they're, kids are making states, and they're loving it, and they're thanking me. And I'm, so it's, so but I told Paul, my athletic director, I go, I can't coach this year. And he's like, okay, I get it. But I knew he wasn't going to be another coach. Like I just knew, I know Paul.
Yeah.
So a week out, Adam, how's it going? Hey man, good. I just booked a part on Star Trek. I got a part on Star Trek, which is cool. And then this and that, and doing the, UFC thing. Hey man, so coaching, Paul, I can't go. He go, well, what if we pay for your babysitter? I go, yeah, that'd be nice, but I got to pick the kid up at school from at 2. So what am I going to do with her from 2? It's just, I don't know. He goes, all right, well, how about you bring her to school, and we'll have either my daughter, because his daughter's in high school, or we'll have middle school kids watch your daughter, and I'll give her credit. I'll give them extra school credit for community service to watch my kid. So I'm like, all right, okay. So now, I'm like, he got me. So now she has like 4 girls watch her and like do dancing with her and this and that. But a couple times the girls weren't there. So I had to so then she's like, Daddy, hold me. So I got to like hold her while coaching wrestling, it's just it's like, come on.
It's never ending with the kids. But you know what though, man, honestly, that's what you're going to look back on, and that's what's going to resonate, because you spent your time with your kid while still pursuing the passion. And honestly, I don't know how you grew up, but I imagine the same way I grew up. It's a different time now. And that's what's, the fame and all that stuff, the money and this and that, what you're searching for, that's cool. But man, it's the time you spend with your fucking kids, bro. That's what's going to be, you're going to remember more than anything.
Yeah, no, 100%. And it's like, it's also fun though. I mean, she watches wrestling. I'm trying to get her to like do it a little bit.
Yeah.
And she at the end she'll put her hand in with the team, but like all the kids try to give her 5, but she won't give anybody 5. But it's funny because one of the girls, this like cute little black girl, she was like trying to watch my kid, and my daughter wasn't into it because it was like another girl the day before. So I was like, hey, you want to join the team? She's like, okay. So now I got one of her like babysitters in middle school is now going to be on our team. So like, it's like,
Jesus Christ, man. What is your now? Do you ever get like, not say pissed off and not envious, but is there a side of you, maybe just a little bit, that's envious of Joe Rogan because he's more known for the UFC, and there's you who, for all practical purposes, you almost do the same thing, or maybe even more invested, or at least the same. And I'm not throwing shade at Joe. I don't know Joe, which is weird because I know all the comics who are, I was around that time, but he's the only one that I didn't meet. So I don't mean like I'm casting shade on him, but it's like, is there a side of you that's a little envious of how he's more associated with UFC more than you?
No, Joe was there 10 years before I was. He was there like at UFC, like 30. And he did it from like UFC 30 to like, I started getting into it like UFC 90, he was like a 60 UFC advantage. And also he just comes at it from a different perspective. He's also a high level black belt.
Yeah.
Like I don't really train jiu-jitsu at all, so he, no, I'm not envious. I don't know how Joe does it. Like, I'm envious as to like his time management skills, because he does like 5 podcasts a week. He like reads on about everybody. He does the UFC. He tours. He spends time with his kid. He walks his dog. He's taking ayahuasca trips. He's going hunting. I don't know like how he manages to do it all. I'm more envious like how he figures that out. I'm like, how do you have time to do this?
Yeah.
Do
you know him at all? Do you know him at all? Any relationship?
Yeah. I met him a couple times. I did his podcast a long time ago. And when I see him, it's like we talk for like hours, but I don't see him that often. He'll hit me up like on a DM sometime, like, oh, it's a really funny joke, this, that. I'm not one of his guys.
Right.
He has like his dudes.
Yeah.
People like moved to Texas because of him.
I know. Are you thinking about moving maybe? Or are you still?
No, I would never move up because Joe Rogan. I'm like, that's insane to me.
Yeah.
I'm like, the fact that you just get up and follow someone like what is it, Jesus? Like you just got up and just left.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Look, I just, plus a lot of these auditions and stuff, like LA locals, a lot of the good comics left. towns, so it's like more spots for other comics. So I mean, look, man, you got to do you. But Rogan does have like insane time management skills. Like it's like wild because he also smokes weed and gets drunk a lot. I mean, I don't know how this dude does all this. Like, I'm like, are you a fucking actual person? Like, how do you have time to do this?
Now, is there a part of you that wishes you would have fought, maybe had a cage fight, or did you? I don't know. Like maybe wishes you like maybe you were born like maybe about 10 years or later, so you could be part of this.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely that. I think when I wrestled in high school, I got to college and I wrestled in college, and I kind of was losing about 15 pounds a week, and I just was not doing it right. Like I was, I probably like 2 kids passed away my year in my league because they were going into the sauna with rubber suits on. And
were they taking creatine also? Because I was doing that time remember the creatine had something to do with it, or at least they said it was. Remember, like, I mean, what year did you go to college? What years?
96.
Yeah, those are creatine years. Remember, like, people were passing away from creatine and losing weight with the rubber suits and that new kind of like, I remember ephedrine was coming around and people were dying over that.
Yeah, well, when kids took a bike and went into the showers and then they passed out. And I think I would have done that if I would have even thought about that. Like I was wearing 2 rubber suits and running 5 miles. Like I was not, like I wrestled division. I got a Division I scholarship under Tom Ryan to Hofstra, but I went D3 because I'm like, oh, it won't be my whole life. But wrestling is one of those things where it's your life or it's not.
Yes.
You can go D19. It's like if you want to be good, you got to like actually put the time and effort into it. And that's what I was like, well, I lost to the kid who was ranked, who was the starter. So I'm like, all right, at 142, I lost him like 7-4, pretty close as a freshman. So I'm like, all right, I'll go 134. And I was coming in at 152 every week. And then I was like, week after week, I was like, eventually, like I lost to the kid ranked 8th in the country, D3, and like triple overtime, like my 4th match. I was like actually like 11-3 my first, like as a freshman, not even like as a redshirt. And I was kicking ass, but I hated my life because I was not eating anymore and I wasn't having fun. And I went from like a strict boarding school that was like a military school to this. So I kind of broke, but I didn't see a future in it. I'm like, where am I going with this?
Yes.
Like, all I'm going to do is like, I think like my coach said, you could be an All-American. I could have been an All-American Division III, which was not the same as being one Division I.
Right.
I hate to say it. Or to me, it wasn't.
Yeah.
So I'm like, all right, well, where do I go with this? Well, if there was another option, which was MMA, I think I would have stuck with it. Or I would have just transitioned right to MMA.
Right.
Like then 2 years of college wrestling and went right into MMA. Am I happy? No, because I think that I took my, what I learned from wrestling and applied it to something else. But I know that when I quit wrestling, I was very bitter. I couldn't watch sports for 3-4 years. I felt like I let everyone down because I was like the local, star in my high school. I just felt like I was a quitter. And, but people didn't know what I was going through. Okay. They weren't doing what I was doing, but I also would have done it differently. I wouldn't have had the biggest ego of like, I have to start. I could have redshirted. I could have Binghamton, also the kids were just, it was crazy. Like I was there, the kids, it was the D3 team. The kids would go out and fight every night. Every night, the kids, like 80% of the wrestling team would go out and just get into bar fights. There was no football team. They would beat up frat guys. And they eventually like put a kid in the hospital and almost killed a kid because of that. And then they dropped the whole program because of it. And then Alec Baldwin's brother, like Billy Baldwin, went there and they lobbied to get the program back. Yeah. And then they came back and went D1. And it was now it's a great program. But I was there for those like terrible years of just like it was
being fuck ups.
Yeah, and I definitely could have been one of the guys getting into those fights. And
you're like the bad news bears of fucking D3 wrestling.
It was ugly. It got ugly. It wasn't even like funny. It was just, it got really ugly because these kids were like, they would literally go out there and fight every single night. They beat 5 dudes standing there like this, angry, mean mugging people, drinking, and then just beating the shit out of some frat kid. And I'm like, this is not what I want to be around. This is not me. Yeah. I'm not gonna just go beat up random kids. Right. I mean, it was fun but it wasn't like what I wanted to do.
Yeah. What was the plan for what you wanted to do? I mean, did you have a plan? I remember going to college. My dad said, you better pick a major. And I did, but I was like, eh. And I just, and I remember on the back of my mind thinking, I'm gonna be a fucking comedian, even though I hadn't scouted on stage at all. And I just eventually got to that, but it really was no plan. But I know I had to say this to appease my dad. What was your plan? What was your overall plan for life?
I didn't know what I wanted to do. I just wanted to wrestle.
Yeah.
And then when that was done, I was like, man, I'm a loser. I'm a complete loser. I felt like, because I went to this school where like it's called the Hyde School, where they're like really, you couldn't lie, steal, cheat, drink, have sex. Like they were very like, you have to go for your best. It was a really like, I wasn't like a brainwashing school, but they were really into like character development. And I got to go on attitude trips in the woods and talk about your feelings all day long. It was a crazy school. Right. Yeah. So when I was done with, but I didn't learn what I needed to learn as far as like the academics were horrible, but like you learned about being a good person and telling the truth and like trying your hardest. So
okay.
But you didn't learn like math or English, like things that like maybe I needed to learn. It's gotten better over the years, right? Yeah. So when I got done wrestling, I used to stay in my dorm on Thursday nights to cut weight, and there was like a local television show, and they would try to talk about like race relations or this or that, and I would constantly prank the show because they'd be talking about like black and white problems on campus, and I'd call up and be like, you know who you guys got to hear Devane talk, and they're like, who? I'm like, Devane on my dick, and then just hang up. So, because I was like hungry, it was Thursday night, and I was fucking hungry, and I'm cutting weight, and this was like my entertainment for me, right? My friends would laugh on the other side of the hallway. So when I quit wrestling, I'm like, man, I want my own talk show. Like so I went down to the studio, and I like pretended to learn like the stuff, and then I like they gave me my own show. It was called D's Nuts. It was a 4-hour show on a Monday, right? Yeah. So I had like me and a bunch of guys on the wrestling team. We had like a Budweiser model. And people can call in, right? So right away, everyone starts calling in about me because I had a bald head because they shaved my head for wrestling. That was initiation. Yeah. I had a huge cauliflower ear, I had acne from Matt Byrne. And people were calling in like, hey, Vanilla Ice or Corey Haim, or, you know, what's wrong with your ear? And I heard you went to a correctional facility, not high school, which like all this was kind of true. So then like, I thought I was going to get like a bunch of girls tell me I was hot. That was not the case, right?
You never get the hot chicks calling. You never get that.
No. So then this one girl called in and she's like, my name is Hannah and people are going to talk crap about me anyway, blah, blah, blah. So now the whole school, it's all freshman and sophomore. They are the ones that like live on campus. They get this show. And they were all calling it about Hannah. They're like, girl, Hannah, you know, can I park my car up your snatch? And Hannah got this. So I'm laughing because I'm happy that I'm making fun of me. Yeah. At the same time, I'm sticking up for Hannah because it was kind of me. So then Hannah, this guy named Seth, who was the captain of the soccer team, was like, Seth, you know, I went over your room, Hannah. You wouldn't let me touch your tits. You have huge pepperoni nipples. Like it was funny, right? So then Hannah comes down to like defend herself on the air, right? While we're on the air. And she's like, sits in front of the camera. And we have a guy that's writing stuff in the bottom of the screen, like this awful stuff. And she's like, Hannah, she's like, that guy Seth is a fat ass. He needs to go to the gym, blah, blah, blah. So now everyone starts calling about Hannah. Like, just like, Hannah, you know, you like stole my jeans in the dryer and this, just one thing after another. So then she goes back to her dorm. People are throwing water balloons at her. And then that guy Seth that was like making fun of her, he came down drunk. And he's like, this is the ass that Hannah called every week. So like now the whole school's watching, right? Yeah. The entire school's glued to the TV to watch these nuts. So after that, like they had Hannah sued the school for $20 million, sued me for $20 million for negligence, and sued Seth for $20 million, right? There were no more shows on Binghamton television, right? Like
you fucked it up for everybody.
That was it. That was the first and last show, right? Hey, I was like,
did she get any money? Did she get any money?
No, it went to the Supreme Court of Brooklyn, right? Yeah. And my dad was like, you go to school for 1 month, you come home with $1 million lawsuit, like $20 million lawsuit. Hey, you just go to school like everyone else. They threw it out, but it went to the Supreme Court. I did a lawyer that was, luckily I was covered by the school insurance. But after that, there were no more shows. But I was like, you know what? That was the most fun I had. This was amazing. I want to be a talk show host. This is the greatest job ever. I can't believe this could be an actual job. So then I was like, I dropped out of school to become a talk show host after that.
Who does that? Who drops out of school to be a talk show host?
And I was like, how do I become a talk show host? I'll go to acting class. So I'm like, well, I'll go to comedy class. And then I became a comic. That was 23 years ago.
Fuck, dude. That's fucking incredible. I mean, it really, but basically, for both of us, wrestling brought us to where we are now.
100%.
It's the same thing. I was in junior college. Same thing happened to me. I mean, but in the back of my mind, I always kind of knew where I wanted to go. But it was through junior college and wrestling, and all of a sudden, I'm in my dorm room going, "What's my God-given talent?" I go, "I like to make people laugh." And this is both where we're at, man. And to prove you still got a little bit left, something left in you. And we don't have to name names, but I know for a fact, I think you know where this is going. You've had some skirmishes with another comic. I know. I'm not gonna name names. And I didn't even when I lived in LA, I didn't know until they told me, and I was like, he did, and I was like, good for him. Do you remember when it was at the Ha Ha, I think it was?
Yeah.
And the comic I think was talking shit about you on stage, wasn't he?
No, the comic told me like months earlier that I took a joke from him and did it on TV. I'm like, dude, I didn't take your joke. I don't even know any of your jokes. I never watched your set. I wouldn't take a joke if I saw your set, but I don't know what you're talking about. Like, I have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah.
He's like, well, the joke. And then he started telling me the joke. I'm like, dude, like, it's a premise that like, basically like, you know, Mexicans, if somebody's taking your job, but doesn't know English, your job sucks. Like, that was like the line. And then I'm like, bro, I did not take that from you. I swear. And then I'm like, so then I forgot about it, right? And then I'm on stage, and then I see him walk by and like kind of mean mug me, and I'm like, okay. But I was having like the worst week ever. Like, it was like a midnight show. That week, I had done a college where the booker bounced my check, and then I almost got arrested trying to cash it in Tennessee, driving 4 hours. I got to the college. It was a Christian school, and the kids were getting credit for like Bible study or something. It was just like beyond horrible. And I did it for like and then I had my sister, and then that was an issue there. So it was just like a terrible week, right? So then I get off stage, and I'm like, Terry, I forgot my computer for my thing, and I get my computer because I was like looking at a joke I need to do. So I'm walking back in with Terry, and the guy comes from beside me and just clocks me in the face. I don't even see him. Like, he came from like right here, and I was like, what the fuck? And then like I needed like 6 stitches. I was like, and I just saw red. My eyes just saw red. I'm like, you're fucking dead. And then I hit him like a bunch of times. But people were like in between us. I had to like hop over people, hit them, and like I'm throwing comics out of the way to hit them, you know. And then the guy is like, come on, mother. He goes, we'll dine in hell together, right? Which is like a line from like 300.
Yeah.
Like, he said I stole his joke. He stole a line from fucking Gerald, whatever his name is, right?
Gerald Butler, yeah.
Yeah. So then
he's being a hack in the middle of a fight. He's being a hack.
So then I'm being held back by everybody. And then like all I had were like my feet. So I went through a knee. I should have, if it was more flexible, I went through like a nice teep kick, but I hadn't like trained in a long time. So then I got thrown out of the ha, right? Like by everybody. And then I see him, but this is like the old ha where you can see like the gates. You know, there was like a high gate. And I was so angry. I swear, BT, I was like, I'm going to hop that fucking gate and then Superman punch him from like the top, you know, like, but I'm like, I'm not sure I can scale that gate. Like it's a tall gate. Like I'd have to like lift myself up, hop, but I almost did it. I was almost going to like hop the gate and just come flying down. I'm like, but I might get stuck on the gate though. Like I actually was like, yeah, that was crazy.
I like the fact that he fucking said a hack line in a fight, like a real fight. We're gonna dine in hell together. Who says that in a fight?
Yeah. That's why someone said, Jerry Medina called me up. He's like, will you do the podcast with him? I'm like, only if he gets Gerald Butler to do it. Because he stole his joke. And he says I took his joke. So we all have to talk about the jokes.
Are you guys friends now? Are y'all friends now?
No, no, not at all. I saw him at the high. He's like, yo, we cool? But we're never gonna be cool. Like you punched me in the face when I wasn't looking. Like
we're never gonna be fucking. I love that. No, we're never gonna be cool.
No, we're never ever gonna be cool, ever. He could have killed me, and like you know what I'm saying, like that you could punch him in the face that could fall the wrong way.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
I can't think of a scenario. Maybe if he saved, like maybe if I was like drowning with my family and he came in and saved us, and I'm like, all right, we're cool. You know, like that would be the only case.
And he says a hack line from a movie like Titanic. You know, hold on, Rose, or some shit like that. You go, really? You're still hacking lines from?
Yeah, right. That would be the only way we'd ever be cool. Like once someone punches you in the face, you're not looking. It's over.
Dude, yeah. I mean, seriously, yeah. I can't. I mean, I think I had a dust up at a gas station here, And it's weird to go from, because like when they told me to fight, I go, really, Adam? Because we've always been cool, and I never saw that side of you or knew that side of you, and I even knew that it existed. But man, I don't know about you, but I can go from 0 to fucking all right, I'm done to like that, only because being a nice guy, for some reason people think they take the kindness for weakness. And one thing I hate more than anything is when dudes think they can get over on you because you're being nice. And that's what makes it that's why it accelerates. Like if you're an asshole all the time, you know how to get to people to a level and then you kind of chill them out. But if you're like really nice and then all of a sudden you do something like that, it's fucking over and you can't see straight.
100%. That, and also like I used to work at it used to be a comedy club at a strip club in New York called Tens. And they had comedy there. It was like when John Gotti, when like Giuliani came in and made a new rule that you can't have like 50% of your business can't be a strip club, right? So, and those guys were like legit mobsters, and they were the nicest guys. And those are the only guys I was ever really scared of.
Yeah.
Because they were nice.
Yeah.
And I'm like, these guys are straight fucking killers. Like,
real killers.
Yeah, I'm like, it's not the guy that like tough guy that you have to worry about. It's the guy, hey, what are you doing later? Come on, Sunday night, we're having a barbecue with the family. I'm like, I'm not going to that barbecue.
Yeah.
I'm not, but like that's the nice guys are the ones that you have to really work, like even MMA guys, like almost none of them walk around like tough guys.
Yeah,
none of them. Like people meet them, they're like, man, I can't believe that guy's a fighter. I'm like, no, like it's just a different thing. It's just
Okay, of all the guys, who did you? Or have you ever pissed off one of them? Like like they kind of maybe stepped over the line and they got a little. You could tell it kind of, got a little. To it.
King Mo. I had to call King Mo, and like because he told me he was gonna have his cousin pay a visit to me or something. Like,
what'd you say to him? What'd you say?
It was one of those things where he got hit with a spinning back fist and then got knocked out. So someone else like 8 fights later, his spinning back fist. I'm like, oh, that was so nice. King Mo fell down or something. And and it was just one of those. And then but then me and King Mo are really cool now. Like we're like friends. I mean, like friends.
Yeah.
But I called him up and I'm like, yo, man, hope you're not, he's like, nah, man, I'm cool. It's all good. Like, it was just one of those things. Like, but King Mo and Anthony Johnson too was another guy that I had to call.
Fuck that dude. I got an Anthony Johnson story, and I'm pretty sure it was him. I was in Denver. And this is before I knew him, but I knew something about anyway. So I'm talking to some chick outside after a show, right? It's going pretty well. He just comes in, gets in front of me, and starts talking to her, and I'm like, and so I'm pissy. I'm like, okay. So I'm thinking, I mean, it's one of those things where okay. So I'm like, okay. I'm thinking, that's really fucked up. And so I'm going, And so it was between shows, so I had to go and do another show. So when it was over, I said, fuck this, man. I'm going to find that chick. So I left, and I found the bar they were in. He was talking to somebody else, and she was there. And so I came in that bar and started talking to her and kind of turned my back to him like, yeah, fuck you, right? So I was talking to her. And somehow, during the course of the night, we went to another bar. And so she was there with her friend, and then so I said, let's go. And me and her are going. He runs across the street to talk to her. And then it's like, it's getting to that point where I'm like, you know what? I'm going to say something to this motherfucker. But for some reason, I was thinking, I think that's Anthony Johnson. I swear to God, I think that's Anthony Johnson.
I don't know if it was him. If a guy was running across the street, it wasn't him. Because he doesn't do any cardio.
No, this is before he got fat. This is when he was in his 80s. This is when he was like, so I was like, I'm pretty sure it's Anthony Johnson. So he came around and I go, man, I'm thinking this is him. And we were avoiding looking at each other and talking to each other, but I was like, this motherfucker says one thing, but I was like, I don't know, because I think this is him. But it was like, it's one of those things like, it could have went either way, and I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah, you know what? You just always bet that it is him, So But he's a real nice guy. But like I said something, I had to like apologize. It was my bad. Sometimes you make a joke, you don't really think they're gonna hear it. You're like, oh shit, they're gonna hear it.
Yeah, but they know. But they know you're a comic though, and that's what you do though.
Yeah, no, he wasn't mad. I mean, it was like some girl that like loved him. Some fighter chick loved him, and then I made a joke about him, and then he was really funny. The girl had like 6 kids. He's like, yeah, man, I saw that. He told me, he's like, I moonwalked away from my phone. So he told me. I thought that was the funniest thing. I could picture him moonwalking away from his phone. I'm like,
real quick, how often do you write? I mean, how long do you write? How often do you write? Because I mean, like I said, on Twitter, if you follow this guy on Twitter, every day, no less than 20 jokes, MMA jokes, or just jokes, period. So I'm thinking, and that's just what gets to the Twitter. So sitting down and writing, like how many hours do you devote just to straight writing?
It depends. I mean, like I get like I don't have my kid with me right now. My daughter, my wife and kid are coming tomorrow. So I have time today, and it's also when you're not on, when I was, I hate to say it, but back in the day when I was like, chasing pussy, like I wouldn't write as much. I would convince myself I was, but I wasn't, when you don't have that, like, when I'm on Bumble all day and Tinder and this and that. And so, a lot of it's not even writing, it's rewriting. It's like, I have literally 190 pages of jokes. And I would say out of 190 pages of jokes of like one-liners, 40 of them are finished. And I have 150 pages of like, of thoughts that are just unfinished thoughts. And then I go back and go, okay, I was thinking about this 3 years ago, but I'm like, oh, here's I could finally finish this joke. This makes sense.
Yes. Yes. Because they stay somewhere back here and you always know it. And all of a sudden, maybe in a conversation with somebody and you go, that's it. That's the punchline to that joke. And only a comic gets that. But you have a joke like, this, it's not working. You just said it there, but it stays here.
Yeah, that's why it's so important, like, to not give up on jokes, because there are so many times like, oh fuck, there's it is, or there, and then sometimes like Twitter just gives me the joke. I mean, like, not they'll give me the joke, but the premise is like, like guy, tore like a UFC fighter literally bit another guy's ball sack last week.
Yes.
And I'm like, oh well, that couldn't happen to Dylan Dennis because he's got no balls. So I'll just like finish the jokes. Like I just take the headline and just write the joke. Yeah. So, or, it's hard sometimes when like, the hard part for me is when like I have a joke, and it pertains to right now, but I've used it already, even on Twitter. Yeah. Because like, for example, if somebody tomorrow misses weight by 6 pounds, and I go, oh, what's to know miss weight? Kelvin Gastelum wanted to know how she got so close, right? That would be the joke, right? But the problem is I've done that already, right? But not all 90,000 people were on Twitter when I wrote that, when they saw it. Like, let's say only 10,000 people saw it. So that's a new joke to 80,000 people. Yeah. Right. But then that one person goes, you used that already. And that pisses me off, so that like, so.
But it's also a testament to having fans. If somebody knows that you did that, then it's like, that's pretty good that they're following you that way. I mean, that's good for you then. It
is, but then I'm like, fuck, all right. So then I'm like, I got to write a new joke just for him. Yeah. It's kind of that same thing of like, even now, like if I was, let's say I was, Mr. Anthony Jeselnik or something, you do like a Netflix special, right? So now you got to do a whole new special for the next one, right? The problem sometimes with guys like me and you is that, or I don't want to speak for you, but like I have like 9 people in the crowd that have seen me 17 times. Yeah. But I have 100 people that haven't. So do I do a whole new act for those 9 people? Yeah. Or do I make the other 100 people that haven't heard it? So I try to throw enough in for those 9 people. Yeah. So they're happy, but then, luckily I do a lot of crowd work. That's always going to be new, but there's always that like voice in my head that like thinks that I'm letting people down, and I have to like get rid of that voice and ignore that voice. And, sometimes it does drive you, but it's not really like a healthy or positive voice.
Dude, that's fucking beautiful. I mean, comic to comic, fuck, I get it. And this is how much respect I have for you. I literally thought when we were in Vegas, what was it, 2-3 years ago? We met up at the Strat, and because you were working with Gerald and old boy from who was in that movie with Denzel, The Equalizer. Remember that?
Tehran.
Yeah, and I just remember, you were talking, man, why don't you come back to LA, and you can help me with my my wrestling team, and blah blah blah. And I literally, you're the only person I really thought about. You know what? I moved back to LA. I help him with his wrestling team. I stay in town. I can do auditions and blah, blah. I mean, I really, really thought that. You had me that fucking close. And it's like I said, that's why this had to be, because when I sit there and thought about it last night, I go, fuck, he's the reason that, this is kind of, I'm trying to cater toward this, more toward motorsport, and kind of basically do what you do with motorsport, but only with motorcycle racing, and all mine's kind of racing centric. And, and then I thought about, with the acting, and I thought, trying to stay in town, what would I do? And you said wrestling coach, and I go, fuck yeah, I still love wrestling. That's why almost everything that kind of undoing. It's like it's based on you without even you or me even realize it until last night. And that's just the truth. I was like, fuck, I would love to be a wrestling coach, be assistant coach. We'd be fucking great together.
You could do it out in Indiana though. Nothing's stopping you. I mean, you can go once a week. Help out.
But I mean, but I really thought about that. But you know what though? For the first time ever, I had both my hips replaced, but I rolled for the first time Monday. I'm back to jiu-jitsu. I did a session and it felt good, man. It felt good to be back. So who knows? Maybe I'll get that itch again to compete. And you never know, man. You know, you never fucking know.
Yeah,
I think you should do it. You know what we should do? Me, you, and Tim Gaither should do a comedians who wrestled tour. You know,
but Greg Warren, he's a monster.
All of us, we do. Four of us do 20 minutes. That's an hour. You know what I mean? And I think we give people
Greg
a great.
Warren was All-American, Division I.
Fuck yeah, man! He has the greatest story about him wrestling Tim. You know Tim Krieger from Iowa State. Dude fucking broke bones, bro. And for some reason, Warren did some, like kind of dirty, and he had to get a medical timeout. And Warren's his own coach goes, Warren, I don't know if I would have done that if I were you. You just woke up a sleeping tiger. Yeah, his own coach said that. Yeah, I was like, fuck. When your own coach goes, I don't know if I would have done that.
Oh, man.
That's one of the greatest stories ever, bro. One of the greatest stories ever. Man, before we get out of here, man, you're around those guys. You're with those guys. So you know the ins and outs. Who's the most underrated fighter right now in the UFC? The most underrated. Like, we know he's good, but you guys have no idea how really good this motherfucker is. Underrated fighter.
Underrated in the UFC or Bellator or the
UFC? In the UFC.
UFC, the most underrated fighter. Damn, that's a tough question.
Like, we know he's good and we see it, but you're like, but being up close, you go, you have no idea what this motherfucker does.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, that's I feel like I tell fighters all the time how underrated they are and how it's going to happen. And then finally answer that question, I can't think of one. Underrated fighter in the UFC. I mean, for a while, like I had Colby Covington on back when no one was talking to him. Yeah. And I was like, this dude is beyond underrated. And he's going to be the next big thing. And then, same thing with Usman. I had Usman on when no one wanted to fight him. Like, nobody wanted to, and I'm like, dude, this guy's the guy.
Yeah.
But I would have to say, let's see, in the UFC, I think people are sleeping on the guy who's fighting Sean O'Malley this week.
Who's that?
This dude is, the guy he beat actually is this guy named Kyler Phillips.
Okay.
Is a guy from Arizona who's got everything. He had one bad night, so people are sleeping on him, but he lost, I think, a split decision to the guy who's fighting O'Malley. But he was like a black belt, like 7, karate. His wrestling is amazing. His jiu-jitsu is amazing.
Yeah.
And I think he's gonna put it all. I think he does crazy things. His problem is he kept wanting to get that like ESPN knockout highlight.
Yeah.
So he went for it like 80 times in the first round and tired himself out.
Okay.
And ended up losing to this other guy. But I think Kyler Phillips is the most underrated fighter.
Okay.
Because nobody's talking about him.
Okay.
And he's a guy that I think is gonna all of a sudden, win 2 or 3 and everyone's like, oh, this guy,
Mm-hmm.
MMA fans, I love MMA fans, but they're the most it's the weirdest fan base. Like, a guy loses this fight and people assume he's done.
Well, MMA.
And then a guy wins a fight and everyone's like, he's back. He's the greatest. And I'm like, it's just people have a bad night. And how many times I talk to people who are like, dude, I went in that fight with a broken hand. I went in that fight with a torn ACL. I needed money. My shoulder was gone. So much of that happens. I talked to the guy who told me like Frank Mir went into that boxing match. Not that he would have won anyway, but he had like a broken shoulder or something, or some crazy stuff happened. It's like, yeah.
Wow.
It's crazy.
Wow. Well, shit, man. Before we get out of here, first of all, thank you. So if you guys get a chance, follow Adam Comedian, man. This guy we didn't even talk about your short movie called Pinned about wrestling. This guy was a finalist in Last Comic Standing. Like I said, watch his special, Throwing Punches on Fight Pass. And it's like you've done everything. When it's all said and done, what's the big thing for you? Or if there is, I mean, what's the thing that is your Mount Rushmore? Like you go, this is what I really, really, really want.
Just having a really happy kid.
Good for you.
That's it.
Yeah.
Happy kid, happy wife. That's my Rushmore.
Good for you, man. It really is. I mean, with age comes perspective, and it's great. Don't get me wrong. Partying with porn stars is pretty cool, and that was a great time. Don't get me wrong. I mean, those are fun times, but yeah, man, where you are now, where you're at in life now, that's cool. But yeah, those are good times. I mean, LA in your 20s and early 30s, and you're single, that can be a good time. Which is why I'm in Indiana right now, man. So listen, man, I appreciate you coming through and doing this for me. And I mean this from the bottom of my heart, Adam. You are fucking one of the best that's under fucking rated. You're underrated. Your joke writing skills, your everything skills are underrated. And dude, it's a pleasure to call you a friend. What can you tell people? Where can they find you? And blah blah blah.
Follow me at Adam Comedian on Instagram and Twitter, at MMA Roasted on Twitter. And my podcast, MMA Roasted. And thanks, brother. I love you, man. You're the best.
Man, love you so much. Thanks for getting up early at 9 o'clock in the morning in Vegas for me, man. I appreciate that. This is
Anytime.
BT saying thank you so much for watching. I appreciate it. Hit me up on email, DM me, tell me who you like to have on the show. And like I said, by this time, you know the word. Peace.